Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel and your channel, Mike Shriver Ministries, right here on YouTube from the best little city on the planet, Lake City, Michigan. It is a beautiful, slightly snowing, very cold for this time of year. Morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel and your channel, Mike Shriver Ministries, right here on YouTube
for a second.
from the best little city on the planet, Lake City, Michigan. So here we go. We got Angela in the house. And let's just kick it off with a video that just got posted. I just found it anyway, and it was like an hour ago it was posted. So this thing is fresh meat right off the truck. Here we go. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. The partial government shutdown enters a second month. Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. The partial government shutdown enters a second month. Republican senators have been in D.C. all weekend trying to stop TSA agents from being used as pawns. But this is not a game. Lives are impacted in real significant ways. Democrats aren't punishing ICE. ICE is funded. They're punishing you and the women and men of TSA. And Trump may send in ICE agents to relieve the unpaid TSA agents. Wouldn't that be something? Democrats would be enlarging ICE authority rather than reducing it. Meanwhile, filibuster and cloture are still making news. Presidents wonder how someone can be elected without 60%.
Kosei Mix in the house.
Without
Kosei,
60%,
oh no, it's Kosei.
but the Senate
That's right.
is different.
Hello,
On the
Mix.
other hand, senators are
How are
likely to go back through history and count the really bad bills that never became law because Republicans were able to use the filibuster during Obama and Biden. When you say goodbye to something, you might wish one day it wasn't gone. Joining us is a man known for common sense and his sharp questioning. He recently authored a book on it. John Kennedy from the great state of Louisiana. Welcome, Senator. How and when
John Kennedy.
does this partial government
Hey.
shutdown end?
Well, the party line that we're supposed to parrot is that we're talking and we're reasonably close. Dreamweaver.
Senator Mark.
If
Dreamweaver.
you believe that, you'll never own your own home. We're not even, on a scale of 1 to 10, we're minus 17. Here's why.
That's all, minus 17?
There is no bill, no compromise involving ICE that the Democrats will vote for. Why? Because the Karen wing of the Democratic Party is in
Don't
control.
move out of America.
And the
That would be a
Karen
mistake,
wing of
in
the
my
Democratic Party will
The
punish any
Karens.
Democrat that
Karens.
votes in any way to help ICE. That's just a fact. And we need to stop looking reality in the eye and denying it. Here's what we ought to do, and I've talked to most of my colleagues about it, including Senator Thune.
ICE
I don't
deployment
speak
to airports.
for them. I would accept the Democrats' offer to open up everything except ICE at DHS. And then the very next day, I would pass a reconciliation bill which crafts a budget for ICE. We can do it without any Democratic votes.
Amen.
Certainly the Democrats are welcome to join us. We can do it with all Republican votes. That's how we passed the one big beautiful bill. We don't need Democrats to do anything with respect to ICE.
Senator Mark
They
Wayne
think we
Mullen
ought to
could be
abolish
confirmed
ICE,
as
just
the new
like
Department of
they
Homeland
want to
Security.
abolish police, just like they
Sorry
think
about
that kids ought to be able to change genders at recess. Not all Democrats are that way, Trey, as you know. But
Sorry,
the
had to laugh
Karen
at that
wing,
one. That
the
was
loon
funny.
wing of the Democratic Party is calling these shots, and that'll get the TSA folks paid. What we're doing right now is a Great Dane-size whiz down the leg of every employee at TSA and everybody else at DHS who shouldn't be paid. And we're giving a bunch of pretty speeches on the floor when the truth is, and everybody knows it, the Democrats are not
Good morning,
going to
Brother
vote
Ken's in the
for
house.
anything that has to do with ICE because their party tells them they have to abolish it. And that's where we are. We can be open in 7 days.
Way
That's
better.
why I love having you on, Senator, because you
I'm on the
speak
way
the
to being
truth
better.
and you do it in a pretty blunt way. Speaking of DHS and blunt colleagues of yours, I've known Markwayne Mullin for over a decade. He is blunt. He's honest. He's one of the most loyal friends you can ever have. I would have preferred to see Markwayne and Rand Paul work out their differences in private and not public, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, look, I'll say this for their exchange. It was authentic. I mean, they don't like each other. That's the way the world works sometimes. Markwayne's going to be confirmed. We've got huge management problems over at DHS. I don't want to plow old ground, but we've got huge management problems. And it wasn't just about the fact that the former secretary spent $250 million making political commercials with her on a horse in front of Mount Rushmore.
I like those commercials. She looks really pretty on the horse.
A big problem. I don't mean to speak
And the mountains in the background were awesome.
I like Secretary Nolan, but the truth is, and everybody knows it, we need some fresh blood there. Markwayne will provide it. He's experienced. He's a good businessman. He understands the legislative process. I can't wait to get him confirmed, and he'll be confirmed this week.
You know, Senator, speaking of confirmation, one of my dear friends is in front of you on Wednesday, and she is as nervous as Lindsey Graham in a spelling bee because, number one, she respects you, and number two, you are a tough questioner. So she's been studying like it's a bar exam, and she should. Your questioning is part of what prompted President Trump to say enough at DHS. So I love having you on. I love watching you. People say they don't like lawyers, but they like John Kennedy. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday night.
Trey, Congress went to hell as soon as you left, man. We need you back.
God bless you, Senator. We'll see you soon. Take care.
All righty. Next video coming up right now, so you ain't got time to go get a cup of coffee. Here it is. Punch it, Chewy.
Senator Markwayne Mullin could be confirmed as the new Department of Homeland Security Secretary as soon as today, with travelers at major airports set to see ICE agents working alongside TSA.
Yes,
the
amen.
deployment is meant to relieve growing lines and travel delays as TSA workers are calling out in droves.
Madeline Rivera live in Washington with the details.
Yeah, I just started, Brother Ken.
Good morning, Todd and Carly. It's unclear how many ICE agents will be deployed. Border Czar Tom Homan, who's in charge of executing this plan, says they'll be focusing on airports where the wait times are the longest. There are questions, though, regarding the duties that ICE agents will take on. And here's Homan giving more details on that.
There's a lot of things that TSA does. It doesn't require like specialized training.
I love
right?
Holman. He's awesome.
Like you have exit lanes where people leave the airport. Now people try to enter those exit lanes. That's a security breach. Well, an ICE agent can maintain those exits. ICE can check identification before people enter the screening area, right? And we're trying to release TSA resources to get to positions that they really need expertise in, like the X-ray screening.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries warns having ICE
I got
agents
a Hakeem
at
Jeffries
airports
video in here
has
somewhere
risks.
too. Puke. I
The
can't
last
stand that
thing that
guy.
the American people need are for untrained ICE agents to be deployed at airports all across the country.
Airports.
Potentially.
Okay, here we go. This guy is not, he's definitely not Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon from the 80s, the basketball player for the Rockets. I think he ended up with the Raptors at the end. This guy is Hakeem, not the Dream Jeffries.
To brutalize or in some instances kill them. We've already seen how ICE conducts itself. These are
Sharon
untrained individuals when
Peterson.
it comes to doing the current
Oh,
job
I've
that they
missed
have
you.
for the most part, let alone deploying them in close exposure and highly sensitive situations at airports across the country.
Frustrations are mounting as long lines persist at airports across the country. The national call-out rate for TSA workers was more than 11% on Saturday, the highest
wow.
since this partial
That's a lot of
government
call-ins
shutdown
to work.
began. Homan, who's met with a bipartisan group of
Hi, I'm
lawmakers on
calling in
Capitol
today.
Hill, says while they
Why?
are having good conversations,
I'm not
there
getting
are
paid.
still some gaps. But the Senate was able to advance Senator Mark
Why would I
Mullen's
show up?
nomination yesterday. Two Democrats, Senators John Fetterman and Martin Heinrich, voted yes,
Time store Obama.
breaking with the rest of their
Yeah.
party. Mullen's final confirmation vote is expected to take place tonight. Dan and Carla.
Madeline Rivera, thank you. With that, let's bring in former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary and former Acting ICE Director Jonathan Fahey. And Jonathan, I want to pick it up where Hakeem Jeffries left off. An insane statement there really doesn't necessarily, I think, even warrant a response. Him saying ICE agents are going to kill people at airports. The minority
come
leader
on,
of the
give me a
House should not be
break.
saying things like that. But it
Let's grow up,
does sort of
Democrats.
lead me to believe that Democrats are going to try to fight this in court. Is there a way for them to do so?
It's a presidential mandate.
I don't see there's going to be any way for them to fight the deployment of these agents within the airports, because they actually have the ability to enforce immigration law or any other law within the airports currently. And I do think this will ultimately...
Sorry, not sorry. I bet you a Buffalo nickel, and I do believe I have one still. I bet you anything they're going to incite violence in certain airports around the country because of this. They are going to intentionally protest in the airports, and they're going to intentionally try to start fights with ICE to make them look bad. Just like the one chick that got blown away in her car because she kept harassing, and then she hits a TSA agent, or not TSA agent, ICE agent, who actually went to the hospital with hip problems and internal bleeding. And then the other guy decided, hey, you know, I seem pretty calm and cool. Oh, I'm a nurse. I'm a helper of humanity. Way wrong answer. You are disrupting everything, and he got shot. Unfortunately, these people are dead and gone, but they should have never been there harassing.
You know, it's a short-term fix, but something needs to be done when you see these lines. But the more important thing with all of this is like what we're seeing in LaGuardia, not the same thing, but safety is the most important thing. And that's why we need security at our airports.
While we're talking about legal challenges, Elon Musk saying he wants to pay TSA agents who aren't getting paid during the shutdown. Legally, can he do that?
I think that's also going to be a very difficult thing. You would need sort of a way to appropriate that money. I'm really glad he's doing it, and I think it makes an important point, but I think it would still need sort of a mechanical way to do so. You can't really just donate money to the government and say we want it spent a certain way, but it is a great idea to the extent it brings to the attention of the American people what's going on here and who's making these TSA agents coming up on missing their third paycheck coming up this Friday.
Meantime, yet another tragedy thanks to Joe Biden's open border. 25-year-old Venezuelan migrant Jose Medina due in court today after being charged with 6 felony counts, including murder for allegedly gunning down Loyola University student Sheridan Gorman. She was simply walking with her friends along the Chicago lakefront last week. You know the words that we use in these situations all too often: preventable, senseless, and yet Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said the following, quote, "They need to continue investing in a holistic approach to community safety." Or here's an idea. How about stop being a sanctuary city and get guys like this out of the country before they kill innocent Americans? Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. Not only is it preventable, but they didn't even try to prevent it. Remember, he comes in under Biden-Mayorkas open border policy.
Because we need those ICE agents there and the voting booths.
He was arrested in Chicago, let loose under their sanctuary city policy. So 2 bad Democratic policies led to her death. Unquestionably true. And what makes this important, really going back to the last story, that's what the fight's about. The Democrats' most important constituency is illegal aliens at this point, and that's why they're shutting down our airports, because they're trying to keep them in the country, and ICE is trying to keep people like this person, get them kicked out before they murder people. It's a senseless, horrible, preventable tragedy, but there needs to be blame laid on the Democratic Party because they are in favor of policies that cause this to happen.
Again, I think it's so important in every segment like this. Sadly,
the Democrats are sinking their own ship.
Think about that family that lost a daughter. You think of all the time and energy, the love you have for that child, and that was just snuffed out It was preventable because that guy did not need to be here. He shouldn't have been here. And thanks to the policies of the Biden administration and the...
We're going to come back to this video. I got a more pressing video we need to watch right now. Just coming in. This is sad.
At approximately 11:40 last night, Air Canada Flight 8646, operated by Jazz, collided with the Port Authority aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicle on runway 4. The plane carried 72 passengers and 4 crew. The ARFF vehicle carried 2 officers. In accordance with our emergency plan, our mutual aid partners, FDNY and NYPD, immediately responded. Initial numbers indicate that 41 passengers and crew were transported to the hospital, as well as the ARF officers. At this time, we understand that 32 have been released, but there are also serious injuries.
So plane runs into a fire truck. I think the fire truck might have won that one. As far as the vehicles.
Sadly, the 2 pilots are confirmed deceased.
Oh dear God!
And
no.
notifications
That's
are
awful.
being made
That's just
by
terrible.
Air Canada's care team
Hey, Melch.
at this time. Families were directed to the Air Canada ticket counter to be reunited with their families, and we understand that the 1 unaccompanied minor has been reunited with their families. It is anticipated that the airport will be closed at least until 2 p.m. this afternoon to facilitate the investigation by NTSB, which has already begun to be on site.
What's
At
NTSB?
this time, I'll take any questions.
So, hello, Shimon Progress from CNN. Can you just tell us the rescue vehicle that was on its way somewhere? Can you give us any details about what the
It's good to see you, Mel.
Certainly, the
Mel,
vehicle was
Mel,
responding
Mel,
to
Gillen.
another
Mel.
aircraft
It's not
operated
Melch,
by
it's Mel.
United
Mel.
that had reported an issue with odor. The NTSB will investigate exactly what went on in this crash, and I will defer to them in all of those aspects.
So, in terms of when the plane landed, like how soon after did the crash occur from when it landed to when your exact collision?
The collision occurred during landing.
Do you know what speed the plane was moving when it collided with that vehicle?
NTSB will determine what the speed of the aircraft at the time.
Any indication of air traffic control shortages, and if that was
Again, I will refer to NTSB, who will make that determination on
It's
who was
beginning
in
to
the
look
control
a
tower
lot
at the
like
time.
Christmas. Look at all the snow.
We're going to leave that to be part of the investigation at this time as we're going through family notifications.
Ma'am, can you update the condition again of the 2 on the truck?
Absolutely. The 2 officers, the sergeant and the police officer, are in stable condition with no life-threatening injuries. I have visited both of them in the hospital, as has the chairman, and they were able to speak, and we're notifying their families.
Oh, okay, so it's a national safety. Okay, thank you for letting me know.
A pilot who had multiple attempts at takeoff requested support. They are responding to that request.
What's the normal, like, how does this work? What's the procedure when one of your rescue vehicles is about to enter, let's say, the tarmac or the runway? Can you just talk a little bit about what the procedure is?
Certainly. The procedure always is in deference to the control tower anytime anyone is moving on any of our runways or taxiways.
So they have to get clearance from the tower?
They have to get clearance from the tower to move on our runways and our taxiways.
Can you get clearance on what the timeline is right now?
So most of the passengers have now left the terminal. They were either transported to Elmhurst or Presbyterian Hospital in Queens. Those who did not get transported were taken to the lounge. Their families came and they were reunited. I believe there are very few still here. SB arrived, the first portion of NTSB arrived approximately 3:30 this morning. More investigators we anticipate to be on site around 6 this morning, and then we will follow their lead on what their investigation requires, and they will have the time they need to make that determination.
When you say 2 p.m., is that the earliest it could reopen?
That is the earliest it could reopen.
But it could be later.
It could be later if they decide that they need additional time as part of their investigation.
Was the jump seat occupied or not?
We do not know at this time.
We don't know, so there could be.
Oh, no, we know that all people who were on the plane have been accounted for.
Can you talk a little bit about the 9 people who are still in the hospital? What are their injuries?
I can't speak to their injuries at this time, but we know that some of them are serious.
Is there any
It's a guy speaking a man. It's a guy speaking a man. His voice definitely hints toward it, doesn't it?
I do not have a number, but we can probably get that for you.
I even just said his.
The airport was operating.
I got a close up on him.
Before this happened, was there any weather conditions? Was there anything else that was reported by?
Our understanding is it was operating normally at the time.
No, I think that's a woman. I don't think that's a dude. It definitely sounds like one, though.
At this time, the 2 fatalities are the pilots.
We're not making judgments. We're making observations.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. I mean, wait a minute. That wasn't me.
We don't have demographic information, but we do understand that they operated out of Canada as their locale.
Oh, okay, out of Canada.
And let me just also preface this with
I got
this
a
is
funny.
still preliminary information and could change. But our understanding is that approximately 41 people were transported and 32 were released, and that we have 2 deceased who were transported by the medical examiner's office. And they were the pilots.
The airport, when is it reopening? I know there was time that was.
So it will reopen. The earliest it will reopen will be 2 p.m., but that is subject to change depending on what NTSB needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next video. Let's see. Is this one a good one?
We have some breaking news to report on in terms of recent developments in
Okay,
the Middle
yeah,
East.
this is a good one.
President Trump posting to Truth Social just a few minutes ago, talking about some talks that have been held between U.S. and Iranian officials over the last.
We're going to come back to this one. All right, let's get back to where we was. I think I might actually have that in the queue. Okay, now we're ready for another video. Let's continue this one because this was an important one about ICE and airports.
Chicago mayor and the Chicago administration, we are missing a beautiful young lady this morning, and it is horrific. Jonathan Fay, I get fired up about it because, you know, I have 2 daughters myself. I can't imagine this happening to me.
Just 2?
Jonathan,
I got
thank you.
4.
I'm Steve
Man,
Dixon.
you're a
I'm Brian
lightweight.
Kilmeade.
And I'm Mike Shriver.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most.
You won't find it anywhere else except for right here at Mike Shriver Ministries.
President Trump blasted NATO over their
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Iranian aggression, calling them a paper tiger without U.S. assistance. But now NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is trying to reassure the president that the alliance and other countries are committed to stopping Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz.
Since Thursday, a group of 22 countries, most of them from NATO, but also Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand.
Does he not remind you of the guy in the Walking Dead TV series from back in the day? Does he not remind you of the governor, the guy that played, was it Robert something? He played the governor in The Walking Dead. That looks like that guy. I don't know. He just strikes me as the governor, the evil guy that was trying to mess with Rick and his group.
Bahrain, most of the other countries from NATO coming together to implement
Mike,
his
a
vision
man is a male
of making
child for the
sure
most
that
part.
The Strait of Hormuz is free, is
that was a good
opening up as soon as that is possible. So we are now planning, the military people and others, amongst this group of 22 nations and with the US, when can we do that, what is needed, and how should we do this?
Yeah, back with us is Fox News senior correspondent Mike Tobin. He's live in Tel Aviv. Mike, do you have anything on NATO's response these last few days?
Well, let me start out with the missile barrages that have been coming in. Iran is not letting up. We had several attacks today. And just less than an hour ago, we saw another cluster bomb come in. The cluster bombs have been very effective for Iran because even when the Israeli air defenses intercept them, they break up into smaller bombs, which explode when they hit the ground. What we're getting from Magen David Adom is Israel's Red Cross. This latest bomb did cause some injuries, but they're light, no life-threatening injuries. Yesterday, we saw 2 ballistic missiles with 1,000-pound warheads hit residential areas in the south of Israel. That injured more than 100 people and struck very close to the Natanz nuclear research facility. For all the damage Israel now endures, the Secretary General of NATO says it's necessary to remove the threat Iran has imposed for decades.
It is crucial that the President, that the US is doing this, to take out the nuclear capability and the ballistic missile capability, because this is posing a threat. It is an existential threat to Israel. It is a threat to the region. It is a threat to Europe, to the whole world. It is necessary, and I commend the President's leadership on this.
And President Trump spoke with Israel's Channel 13. He said, as far as the ultimatum for opening the Strait of Hormuz, we will find out what will happen. He said total decimation of Iran. He said they've been bad actors for 47 years, and they're about to get their comeuppance. Joey?
All right, Mike, stay safe there. Thank you for joining us. The price tag for the conflict with Iran could reach over $200 billion. The Democrats are already signaling
it's war. Of
they're
course
not
it's going to be
support another
expensive.
dime.
Oh, we don't need them. We got the
All
Republicans.
right, so joining us now for tonight's big close-up is Indiana Senator Jim Banks, who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee.
Welcome in, Iran.
Senator, thanks for joining us.
From
We're going
Iran.
to play a video, but we don't have it, of basically Democrats saying they don't want to spend money, which is rare.
We don't mind the Iran flag here, as long as
it,
it's the person's
we try to tell you guys
being
about
polite.
it because it is so rare. $200 billion, you sit on the committee that this works through the funding. From my understanding, the Pentagon's working on almost $1 trillion right now, $800 billion in NDAA and $150 billion from the big, beautiful bill. I guess this $200 billion would be to replenish munitions spent, but I mean, it's still a lot of money, and it's still a lot of money from taxpayers.
Well, it's a lot of money, but it's going right into rebuilding our stockpiles, our own munitions. It's in America's best interest that we reshore all of these defense manufacturing jobs in the United States of America and make munitions and weapons at home rather than rely on China and other countries around the world. So the $200 billion is going to go to America First priorities that are good for what we're trying to do to take out terrorists in Iran. It's good if we ever, hopefully, to deter a war with China over Taiwan and whatnot. So we haven't.
Who's going to war with whatnot? Did you just hear him? He said with China and whatnot.
But
anybody else use whatnot?
Spent on America First priorities.
Well, that's good to hear, Senator. We appreciate your answer on that. Now, I want to move it back
Play
home.
on words.
We've been reporting all night about the airport lines, TSA. We know President Trump sending in reinforcement with ICE agents. And, you know, we wish that was happening tonight for some of us who are flying out. But, you know, I got to ask you about the end goal here and where you see this going. You know, it doesn't feel like Democrats are motivated at all to get DHS funded. It doesn't even feel like they want to come to the table and have a discussion. So for all the Americans out there that are wondering when they're going to get some relief, for all those agents out there wondering when they're going to get paid, what insight can you give us into how long this is going to last or what things are looking like?
Well, I mean, these Democrats are so crazy. I mean, if you're in an airport and you see these long lines, you better know, I think most of them do know, it's Democrats and Chuck Schumer that are causing the long lines at airports. And it's because they hate ICE officers. They don't just want to defund the police.
I didn't know that. I thought it was the regular Iranian flag.
The federal law enforcement.
Well, then get that out of here.
Deporting
if that's the Islam flag, get it out of here.
This is wild if you think about it, that's Democrats' top priority. They want to tie President Trump's hands in Iran.
Mel, that was funny. Mel cracked a funny.
We're in a fight with the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and at the same time, the Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security at home, which makes us less safe. So that's the Democrats' priority. Yesterday as well, on the Save America Act, these crazy Democrats, every single one of them.
Okay, Sharon, come on back. Bring me some coffee,
boys
too.
Out of girls' sports. I mean, that's how radical and crazy the Democrats are. I hope we can get Department
Jim
of Homeland
Britt,
Security
I agree.
reopened
And Trump
this week
started that again.
You have so many families who are traveling over spring break. You see these long lines. It's going to affect a lot of people, but it's the Democrats' fault.
Senator, we have heard Republicans routinely say it's the Democrats' fault, but why not move to reconciliation? And the second part of that question is, are there 50 Republican senators who would vote yes, to actually fund Homeland Security in its totality in a reconciliation package?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, Republicans are unified behind funding Department of Homeland Security and those priorities, which, by the way, includes funding for FEMA, Secret Service, and our TSA agents who have now gone 2 pay periods without getting paid. So reconciliation is one way to do it, to fund it. If there's not a single Democrat who's willing to help us to fund the department, then put reconciliation on the table, and I think every Republican would vote for it. But at the end of the day,
so why
Jason,
not do
it's
that?
crazy.
But why not do that? Do you have anything
one
else?
option to do it.
Do you
It's
have
one
anything
option to
else?
do it.
Well, do you have anything else in reconciliation? Because you only get it once per calendar year, so the clock's ticking. Is there something that we don't know about? Why not just do it today?
I'm all for it, and Democrats can come to the table today to reopen the department and fund it with a spending bill they've now voted against 13 times. Every Democrat has now voted 13 times against reopening Department of Homeland Security at the same time that we're in a war with the biggest sponsor of terrorism around the globe.
Well, Senator, an issue that Republicans don't seem unified on is the Save America Act. One of your colleagues, Senator Roger Marshall, was on with us earlier and said that he doesn't think that there are 50 Republican senators to get this across the finish line if you were to enforce a talking filibuster. So my question for you is, have you had any conversations with those Republican holdouts? And do you know if they would support a clean federal voter ID bill just to get that at least across the finish line?
Well, we're going to find out this week. We're going to vote on it this week. The Save America Act, which provides voter ID in federal elections. This is enormously popular, not just with Republicans,
should be
but with
obvious.
independents
That should
and
go
Democrats
without
too.
saying.
And then, as well, President Trump has demanded, and we're voting on amendments to include an amendment like I talked about yesterday that would protect girls' sports from boys playing in girls' sports, and then to stop transgender surgeries
Hey
on
guys,
minors.
please
That'll be a
hit
part
that
of the
subscribe
Save
button.
America Act as well, which is incredibly popular. To those Republicans who vote against it, I mean, that's wild to me.
I'd very much appreciate it if you would subscribe. We're almost at 3,100 subs. I need 17 more
of Republicans out of the 53.
good-hearted people.
I think we'll do it. At the same time, you'll see how crazy Democrats are for voting against probably the most popular bill that's ever come before the United States Senate, the Save America Act, and the Democrats are all going to vote against it.
Senator, I'm curious, do you know who those Republican holdouts are? Because I think that our viewers deserve to know their names.
You know, we're going to find out this week. I don't know exactly who they are, but we're going to vote on the Save
I bet he
America
does.
Act this
I bet
week
he's
for
lying.
Voter ID in federal elections to save girls' sports and to stop transgender surgeries on minors. I can't imagine that any of the Republicans or the Democrats would vote against the Save America Act. It's so popular. But the American people are going to see the names on the board of who votes yes and who votes no very shortly.
Senator, real quick, I just want to understand here. The Senate's got 2 bills in front of it, incredibly important to Americans. One of them is to fund our government, the part that keeps us safe. And we're giving concessions there. The other one is a SAVE Act, which is about strengthening our elections. And we're adding amendments there to other issues. It seems to me like you're going in the wrong direction on both of these. I mean, the American people expect bills to come through that represent what they talk about. So as much as I may be for banning transgender surgeries, maybe that needs to be in another bill if that's one reason one person won't vote for it. It seems to me like those torpedo this bill before they save it. If you've got Fetterman, there might be one more Democrat out there to make up for, whoever it is on the Republican side. It just seems to me like the effort isn't to get these bills passed, it's to win a PR for the midterms, and that's really frustrating, even as someone who votes for Republicans and wants to see these bills passed.
We're going to find out who supports. There will be separate amendments on these issues and the voter ID bill. The Save America Act is enormously popular, every single part of it. And you're going to see Republicans vote for it, Democrats vote against it. The American people will see who's on the right side of all of these common sense issues. That's what the Save America Act is. And then it's time to reopen Department of Homeland Security, get the airports working again, keep America safe. while we're at war with the biggest sponsor of terrorism around the globe in Iran. It's vitally important. Those are the priorities for the week, and that's what I'm working on.
Well, at least it's an easy week for you. Senator Jim Bates, thank you so much for taking your Sunday evening to join us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, Tommy, throw it to you. I'm sure you have plenty you'd like to talk about.
Listen, the poor senator wanted an easy Sunday night. We just went for the jugular, but we did it for you folks sitting at home because
so
I know that
pretty.
you've got questions. You know what I think is so frustrating for those that are sitting at home, even
And
those
she's
that are
smart,
tuned
too.
into Fox
That's-
News and tuned
that's
into
almost
politics.
better.
They just rack their brains trying to figure out, why can't this get done? It seems so simple. Why can't we get creative? Why can't we find a way to make it palatable for some of these Democrats?
I mean,
so that
for
we
her,
can get
that's
those
definitely
lines
better
down,
to be
so we
smart.
can get the Save America Act, at least get voter ID. So it was important that we pressed him on that. I'm not so sure I'm totally satisfied with the answers that we were given. I know he's in a difficult spot, as most Senate Republicans
only
are.
those two guys.
I don't feel that bad for them, though. But
Yes, we
I love
are
the point that
growing.
you made, Jason. You jumped
I
on
hit
first
5'2"
with
and
first
stopped,
one, and you said,
but
hey.
the channel
You
is
said, hey,
growing
about
like a well
reconciliation. I'm glad
fertilized
that you
plant.
said it. Were you happy with the answer you received?
I just made that
I'm
up.
a huge fan of Senator Banks. He's not the problem.
No,
she is
part of
smart
the
and she's
solution.
beautiful.
But I think
But
he's
notice how
seeing
wait.
what I think the American people want are.
Sorry, not sorry. Notice how I said she's so pretty, and then I said she's also very smart. I said she's almost smarter than she is pretty, or something like that. But notice how I said pretty first. It's not because I'm a sexist and think women are dumb. It's because I'm a man, and a man sees something with his eyes. He'll say, you know, they're pretty, or I love that car. I love the way this looks. I love the way that looks. But men are attracted to by what they see with their eyes. So immediately my male brain said, boom, but I got 4 daughters. So I have to adjust that again to say, okay, it's the intelligence that matters with a woman, not so much her looks, because there's nothing more terrible than dating somebody you cannot have an intelligent conversation with. It drives me batty. And on average, I would say women are smarter than men.
Single issue bills. Tell me in 1 or 2 pages exactly what we're asking for. Now, reconciliation's kind of tricky. You can do spending, you can do taxes. What you can't do is legislation.
That's right.
So some people would say, like, you can't legislate on it. You can't just say, hey, we're going to do this on voting, and necessarily without some real creative thinking here, which is the effort that Senator Kennedy wants, which is to move towards a reconciliation package. But you've got war funding, you've also got DHS funding. You could probably put those together, actually, in reconciliation and vote on that as a package.
Kayla.
Nice.
Well, I'm actually a bit concerned about what he said about ending debate and moving to a vote, because that suggests, like I said yesterday, that John Thune is moving forward with failure theater and moving forward to get to 60 votes, which he is not going to get to. And let me just name some names for you. Lisa Murkowski, Tom Tillis, Mitch McConnell, and John Curtis are 4 that I know of, at least from public reports, who are not willing to vote for the Save America Act as it exists. Now, do I think that Republicans should introduce a clean federal voter ID bill, as Jason has mentioned, in order to at least get that across the finish line? I do. But I also think that the Republican conference needs to throw these lone senators to the wolves here. You need to call them out. I don't want John Thune protecting these rhinos. They are actively working against the American public on matters that are very important to them. Overwhelming support. 80 to 90% of Americans agree on these issues.
I trust you,
Why
Angela.
will these senators not support them? That's a question that Americans deserve an answer to.
Well, for any of them that are out there watching,
It's that long hair. The long hair is
welcome to
beautiful.
come on this show. We'll give you a full block, maybe even 2. We're not going to call you names. We'll ask you the same questions we ask everyone else. We would love your answers. The American people deserve them. Come on.
Hey, how about that guy right there for the next Secretary of War if Pete Hegseth doesn't keep up with it after this administration? Okay, on to another video. Right, here we go. Got 20 seconds and another video. Oh, here's one on Elon Musk. It's kind of musky in here, huh? All right, punch it, Chewy.
Let's bring in member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Katie Britt.
Hi,
Senator
Katie Britt.
People are packing
Oh,
a
we
lunch
got
just for
Jim
the
Britt
security
in the
line.
house and
Yes,
Katie Britt
look,
on the screen.
This is just completely unnecessary.
You mean
and
Gengis
unfortunate
Khan?
in so many ways.
ways.
What?
We have men
Oh,
and
there it
women
is.
who have stepped up to serve our Department of Homeland Security. We're seeing TSA right there, and they're not getting a paycheck. It's unacceptable. Want our Democratic colleagues to sit down with us and find a pathway forward, and they did for the first time since we passed the continuing resolution, Peter, on January 30th. First time they sat down with us was on Thursday.
So President Trump says he's going to end the long lines at all these airports by sending ICE to the airports to backfill some of these TSA callouts.
Excellent. I think it's a brilliant idea to send ICE to these airports.
Exit
Absolutely.
lanes where people leave the airport. Now people try to enter those exit lanes. That's a security breach. Well,
Okay, dude, I'm
an
not
ICE
dealing
agent
with your
can maintain
questions.
those
Give me a
exits,
break.
And
You're
that
gonna
allows a
just be
TSA
weird.
officer
I mean,
to go back
dude,
to
don't make any
screening to
sense.
move people through quicker. You know, ICE can check identification before people enter the screening area, right? And we're trying to release TSA resources.
You know what? I'm not going to deal with it
How's
today.
this going to go? Airport pat-downs from an
He's
ICE
out.
officer.
Just
No,
trying to be
look,
stupid.
I think what you
Just trying
heard
to be
Tom
stupid.
say is we're going to create a plan to help out with what we're dealing with. You
You
have
know what?
TSA officers, Peter, who haven't gotten a paycheck. If you think about the 43 days in the first Democratic shutdown, and now 36 plus days now. Think about that. These people can't make their car payments. We had one TSA officer tell us about sleeping in his car to save on gas. They have people who have tolls they have to pay to and from work. You have a gentleman who told us about not being able to afford his wife's cancer treatment payment. But these men and women are still showing up to work, but some of them have to find another avenue. So what we're saying is we're going to figure out how to
Hey,
use
Don Trump's
these
in the house. Good to
agents
see
and
ya.
officers in a way that is helpful so that we can take TSA officers that are coming to work and put them in the screening place where they can do their job.
We've seen Democratic activists. They are really good, or at least really motivated, to
I love Peter
antagonize
Ducey. I think
ICE
he is
officers. Over the last
fantastic.
couple months, somebody will show
He's
up.
the
they'll have
best
one
thing
guy
that's happened to
yelling
the
at
press
an ICE
pool in a
officer.
long
They'll have
time.
another guy with his cell phone recording the whole thing. Are we about to see that next to the baggage claim?
Look, I certainly hope not. But when I'm looking at what the Democratic Party has become, it is literally the far left has taken over as in the driver's seat of the Democratic Party. We're seeing that with them paying for protesters in a number of places, but also with the rhetoric that's created and kind of stirring that up.
And I'll be bringing a message from the Word of God at 2 or 2:30 today. I don't know what it is quite yet, but I'm praying.
With our law enforcement officers.
Oh, we forgot to do the Pledge of Allegiance and our Lord's Prayer
We know
this
that
morning.
the way you do it
We'll-
matters.
we'll
that
do
we're
it here
gonna
in a
do it
minute.
the right way, but we are not going to vilify this. We're not going back to defund the police. We're not going back to Biden's failed open border policies. That's ultimately what many of my Democratic colleagues and people in the Democratic Party have said, that this is really about defunding ICE, that's what they're getting at. I hope that common sense will prevail, that we will pay every person that raised their hand in the Department of Homeland Security to say that we want to keep our homeland and the American people safe, and that we will find a pathway forward. I believe a pathway is there, but certainly not if you don't have a conversation.
Elon Musk is offering to help. Have you seen this? He's put out the word, and we've got his post. He said, "I would like to offer to pay the salaries of TSA personnel during this funding impasse that is negatively impacting the lives of so many Americans at airports throughout the country." Are you senators talking about letting Elon Musk come in to pay TSA?
Listen,
I don't think they're going to say
in
no.
The last Democrat-led shutdown, longest ever, 43 days. We saw an anonymous donor come in and do about $130 million to make sure that our troops were paid. There's obviously
Yeah,
there's a
that did
provision
happen.
allowed for that now. I think what we're looking at now is what provisions allow for things like this to happen in the Department of Homeland Security. I appreciate the patriotism, because what he's saying is these men and women are coming to work to keep us safe. They should be getting a paycheck. And let me say this, Peter. I believe if Congress wasn't getting a paycheck right now, that they would be much more eager to find a solution about this. And I believe John Kennedy has a bill, and it says that if we don't do our job, and that if people aren't getting paid in the government that have stepped up to serve the United States government, then Congress shouldn't get a paycheck either. I firmly support that. And I think that if that moved through the Senate and the House, that ultimately people will be much more eager to find a resolution. And I am all for it.
I want to ask you about something else. The other big story this week, which is Epic Fury.
Yeah.
It continues. You spent a lot of time with President Trump. I want to play a soundbite of something that he told me.
Wow,
about
I think
the
YouTube
Iran
got mad at
war
me about
in
the
Oval Office this week.
Oh, I'll have to
You
watch
said
this.
twice today that you talked to another former president about the Iran strikes.
I did.
Was it George W. Bush?
No,
Was it Bill Clinton?
I don't want to say.
I don't want to say. Because...
Wait a minute, I didn't catch that.
A member of a party, and they...
Was it Bill
I will rewind for a second. Whoops, sorry.
I don't want to say.
Former president about the Iran strikes? Was it George W. Bush?
No.
Was it Bill Clinton?
I don't want to say.
Watch its face.
Because
Barack Obama.
a member of a party, and they have trumped arrangements ended on wall.
None of these
Wow.
former presidents will own up to that. My guess is
Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, because the way he looks.
Well, here's what I guess is that in the last 47 years, not one American president has had the courage and the moral clarity to execute in the way that Donald Trump has. So I think they all wish that they had taken action, because you look at the countless number of American lives.
Yeah, I got to go listen to it really quick. I don't know if I don't think you'll be able to hear it on your end, but it's not a big deal. I don't think it was.
Taking care of this, so they
But
didn't
let
leave
me
it in
see.
Donald Trump's hands, and Donald Trump has executed.
Killed
and
by
I think
the
America
enemy
will be safer as a
constitutes a
result.
separate case in the file of...
We reopened the Strait before in the 80s during what's left of their intel branches.
I think there's a
say controlling the Strait gives them power over the global economy, and they're hoping Trump folds.
We can dig in.
But the president just busted out his economic toolbox. He's backstopping the insurance markets, lifting oil sanctions, invoking.
The
regime doesn't care who it kills. It's
No, it doesn't.
I look forward to
their corner and
the
want to wreak
finished
havoc on the
execution of
neighborhood
it,
to
and Americans
fracture
being
the
safer as a
alliance.
result.
Well, thank
And
you very much
Ayatollah
for being
Jr.
here.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, his whole family
Be
was
sure
taken.
to like and subscribe for all
I
of
hope
Fox
that
News'
didn't
latest on
interrupt,
YouTube,
guys.
and catch full shows streaming now on Fox 1.
So, okay, let's get to the next video. Then I got to watch something here. YouTube didn't like something I said. I didn't get a strike for it. It just limited
So
the ad.
long line.
Here we go, another video coming right at you.
So there's growing concern of Iran's ballistic missile range after the regime launched an attack targeting Diego Garcia, a key U.S.
Yeah,
and
okay,
UK
so you were
military
hearing
base
two
in the
things at
Indian
once.
Ocean,
Okay.
nearly 2,500 miles from Iran. Now Prime Minister Netanyahu is warning other countries they could be targeted next.
If you want proof that Iran endangers the entire world, the last 48 hours have given it. They have now the capacity to reach deep into Europe. They already have fired on European countries, Cyprus. They are putting everyone in their sights.
Some people.
All right, we got Joey Jones at the touchstring to break down Iran's
That's what his name. That's
ballistic
Joey.
missile capabilities.
I'd like to see
All right,
Joey
walk
as
us through
Secretary
the
of War
range
one
of their
day.
missiles.
Yeah, so they've been building missiles for a while. Really what we're going to focus on today is what I call the K4, because I can't say the K word. It's very long and it's hard to say. But basically the last missile that they told us about was in 2023, the K4. And we thought its range was about, I think it was right at 2,000 kilometers. So not very far. And they even went so far as to say that, listen, we're not trying to go very far because we don't want the world to feel threatened by us. So here's Iran, and you can start to see the miles, which kind of roughly translate. But right here is what I want you to focus on, 2,500 miles. That's this outer ring here, right inside of it, just about 2,000 miles. Right, this is Diego Garcia. That's double the distance that we thought they could fire. So this K4 missile being the furthest that we know about, we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide. This K4 missile being the furthest that we know about just went twice as far, or we think this is the one they used. The big question here is we don't know what they used, and that's something we'll talk about in a second.
Well, interesting, Joey. The question really for me is like, how do they actually launch them? How do they launch these things?
Yeah. So what's really cool? I've got a couple of pictures here that I want to show you. So they're zoomed in, so it's hard to see. But this is essentially a tractor and trailer. This is a truck with a trailer bed on it, with a missile on it. As you'll see, it's being raised. It's at about a 45-degree angle there. So what they do is this is mobile. So the word they use for it is called the Transporter Erector Launcher, the TEL. So this is what's really amazing. Well, this is what's really difficult about this. So basically, this trailer and that truck can drive out into the desert. You need another vehicle probably with some radar on it to get the coordinates right. But basically, it's mobile. It can be moved anywhere. The fuel used in the rocket is liquid. It's a little bit limiting on distance, but it's able to be stored and set somewhere for a long time. So this entire capability is about running around and being able to launch these from different places so that we can't just identify targets.
Is he a Georgia? Is he a Georgia boy?
They can move.
I used to live in Statesboro, Georgia.
Hundreds of miles
quite a while back.
And so it makes it
I was 11, 1986.
Also, what this does is, this is very big, but there's a Russian version called the 3M54. The export version is called the Club K that can pretty much fit in a Connex box. So it can go in the back of a tractor and trailer. So if they're adapting that technology, or if they bought it from Russia, you have to assume every tractor and trailer in Iran is potentially an anti-ship missile or something like this.
Joey, you said that we weren't aware that Iran had the capability to launch a missile this far. So what kind of rocket was launched at the Diego Garcia base, and is it different than the ones that we knew that they had?
Yeah, so I'm not going to pick on you on nomenclature here, but basically this is a missile.
It said policy, violence. What did I break into violence?
The rocket is a propulsion system. You point it in a direction, that's where it goes. It's not guided. The rocket has fuel in it, just like the Gemini space rockets, you know. And so what happens is, this actually goes suborbital. I didn't show you on the last screen as easily. There's a screen in a minute I'll show you. This goes hundreds of miles above the surface, not into the atmosphere, above the surface. So the higher you launch it from, theoretically, the higher it goes. It goes hundreds of miles above the surface. And when it does, this part here breaks off, just like we see with space program. And this part here, this is called the reentry vehicle, which encompasses the warhead. There's other words for it. And what happens is when it goes exoatmospheric, gravity's not as big of a deal, this breaks off. And what we believe, because they're not just telling us, is that this warhead, this reentry vehicle, exoatmospheric, has thrusters on it that orient it towards its target, and then it lets gravity do its job, and it comes back down. So the reason why that's important is what we know about this specific rocket, or this specific missile, which is the best one that we know they have, the K4, is that this is liquid fuel, which limits them a little bit on distance, but allows them to store it. And it's a single stage, which means once this burns up, that's as far as it goes. What we're trying to find out now, or what probably people other than me know, is if they added a second stage in here to get it further, or if it's actually a completely different reentry vehicle that has some sort of, exoatmospheric thrust in itself. We're not really sure how they got so far because of what we know about its motor. They call that a rocket motor.
Ooh,
so that's what
I got a new video about the plane crash in the fire truck.
Analysis, their threat analysis after the fact. So when they get hit with these missiles, they don't always share that information with anyone, to include us. Hopefully this landing near Diego Garcia, we are recovering that and we're getting that information. It's not that Israel's a bad partner, it's that that's how they're able to keep things covert, because as you can see, our own Pentagon didn't want to share things with other allies either. So that's just kind of part of it.
So, Joe, you kind of already walked us through how the ballistic missile works, and we appreciate that because we hear all these things, and, you know, civilians hear rocket, we hear missile, we hear all these different types, and sometimes it's hard for us to decipher which is which and what that means for us. I want to go back because you already explained kind of how it works. Can you go through the ballistic missile stages that you have on that screen there so that we can really conceptualize this?
Yeah, so I'm not able to draw on this screen, or I would add a little bit in here, but I want you to suspend your disbelief, use your imagination, because I'm going to teach you about how we intercept these. When they are launched, and that's what this is showing here, they actually go exoatmospheric. So they go, I mean, this shows 500 to 1,000 miles. It depends on the missile. The missile we're talking about, we thought was like 150 to 500. So if it goes that far up, what have they done? One thing they could have done was just lighten the weight of the warhead on it and gotten more altitude that way. We just don't know yet if they actually have a better missile or if they modified this missile where it has less of a warhead on it but could go further. So once it gets exoatmospheric, then it breaks away. The rocket motor goes away. A couple other things happen.
It says, watch live. Secretary Duffy briefs after fatal LaGuardia plane crash or collision. That is coming up soon. I hit notification on, so I'll get the notification.
And then it starts its descent back down. At this point here, it's locked on to its target, and it's coming back down. The reason why that is important is it's like artillery. You decide where it's going down here. It can adjust itself a little bit up here, but it can't completely change where it's going up here. When it starts reentry, here it is. What they're saying is that this reentry vehicle has broken down into a warhead at this stage. At that point, that's when our THAAD system uses radar, generally where we think we're going to get hit, and that might be the first time we know that that missile is headed towards us. So it's this part here, when it's reaching Mach 8. It's already 8 to 16, so it's supersonic. And that's how much time we have to lock onto it over the radar and send THAAD towards it. And basically what it's doing is the computer is calculating, well, if it's here now and it's moving that fast, it'll be there in a few seconds. So we may be intercepting it way down here. Look at that big arc. And this is hundreds of miles high and thousands of miles wide. And in all of this arc, it's this section down here most of the time where we're finding it and intercepting it. One thing I know is that some of our THAAD radars have been hit. You take those radars out, now you've got a hole in your dome, in your gold, whatever you want to call it. And so the reason why that's important is some of these are guided in ways that one day we talk about hypersonic guided missiles. This point and shoot method may not work. So this is the evolution of defense. So when President Trump says he wants to raise all this money to put a golden dome over the United States, it's advanced technology from what we're doing now with the THAAD, something other than radar. If these things get the ability to change their target, change elevation and descent, become basically an unmanned aircraft on their way down, the ability to intercept them or take them out just gets so much more difficult. So the advancement of their missiles, that's a big deal. And when President Trump says, hey, they're advancing their missile program, he doesn't just mean they can point and shoot further. He means what they're able to do once it's launched that makes it harder for us to defeat it. That is a big deal. So I'm going to wrap it up this way. It's not as big of a deal that it went so far. It's how did it go so far?
It's really cool to see how this stuff actually works. I think it's important we learn this kind of stuff.
If they actually have missiles that we're not aware of, or that we don't know we're aware of, that only our IC knew about, maybe even a certain section of it, our intel community, then there might be a lot more justification for this war than we know or will know for a while.
Joey, thank you as always for breaking that down for us. I'm going to bring it back to the table as you make your way back over here. All right, Jason, that was obviously excellent for us to get that knowledge from Joey and break all this down, because we hear all these terms and these weapons, and a lot of us don't really know what that all means, what it means to us and what it means to our allies. But, I think that this also makes the discussion right now that we're having with Democrats and between all of us of whether it was
President Trump spoke,
whether Iran was actually a threat, or whether this was a war of choice, as Democrats keep repeating over and over and over again. But to Joey's point, as he expertly laid out over at the touchscreen there, it would seem as though maybe they had more capabilities than we knew, or maybe than many wanted to believe.
Yeah, these armchair politicians.
We'll come back to this. President Trump spoke from the airplane, outside of the airplane just a little bit ago. Let's see what President Trump had to say. I think that is important. It's always fun to listen to Trump, and informative, because he's so awesome. I voted for him 3 times.
President, hey, hello. Let me get out of the sun here.
Can you update us on Iran? You said today that...
Let me just move over. Can we move over? Let's get out of it. Let's go back.
You went, okay, so you know where state for Los Angeles. That's cool. Yeah, I was there in 1987 or 86 for 4 months.
Productive conversations to end the war.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict. And I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We have very much in mind our partners in the Middle East. We've had great relationships with a lot of them, as you know. A lot of them were surprisingly hit, and I was surprised to see it, and so was everyone else. But we have, they're very much in mind in the discussions. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too. We're going to get together today. By probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Who is Steve Witkoff speaking with, Mr. President?
A top person. Don't forget, we've wiped out the leadership phase 1, phase 2, and largely phase 3. but we're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. You know, it's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader.
So
We don't.
not much talk
Well, nobody heard of the second Supreme Leader, the son.
Are these direct?
We have not heard from the son. Every once in a while you'll see a statement made, but we haven't. We don't know if he's living. But the people that seem to be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, I know you deployed.
because I don't want him to be killed. Okay, I don't want him to be killed.
Mr. President, you deployed.
Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now. You know, nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country. But perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
Mr. President, you've deployed ICE agents to American airports. Newsmax, sir. You've deployed ICE.
You're not doing a very good job.
You've deployed ICE agents.
You're not doing a good job. Did you hear me? Okay, go ahead.
What exactly do you want from
You
these
believe it?
talks?
I'm taking CNN over Newsmax. You
What
believe
exactly
it?
are you looking for in these talks, Mr. President?
We're looking for all of the things that we've been talking about. We want to see no nuclear bomb, no nuclear weapon, not even close to it, low key on the missiles. We want to see peace in the Middle East. We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that. And I think we're going to get that. We've agreed to that. Yeah, we've agreed to that.
You want the enriched uranium before you can end this
And we want no enrichment, but we also want the enriched uranium. If this happens, it's a great start for Iran to build itself back, and it's everything that we want. And it's also great for Israel, and it's great for the other Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, all of them, Kuwait and Bahrain in particular. So it's great for all of them.
If the war is ending, do you still need $200 billion?
It's always nice to have. It's always nice to have. It's a very
Yeah, he sure did nail
inflamed
Newsmax,
world,
didn't he?
and the Democrats inflame it. You know, largely the Democrats inflame it. Let me just talk about
I thought
the other. So
Newsmax
ICE
was
has done very
usually
well.
fairly
I've requested,
balanced.
you know, I'm a big believer
Because
that
I've
they
used
should be
Newsmax
able to
on
wear
here before.
masks when they go and hunt down, you know, murderous criminals and
Lambert,
others.
good to see ya.
For purposes of the airport, I've requested that they take off the mask. I don't like it for the airport, and I believe they are willing to do that.
Mr.
Why
President,
do they wear masks not at the airport, but they need to do it when they're out in the country?
The people coming into the airport, typically speaking, aren't murderers, killers, drug dealers, etc. There may be a few of them, but there are many. They're people that want to come into the country, or that people want to leave the country, go into maybe their home country. So I didn't think it was an appropriate look for an airport. I think it's a very appropriate look when they're out on the street trying to find one of the 11,888 murders that Sleepy Joe Biden led into our country.
Elon Musk.
Sleepy Joe, what do you know, Sleepy Joe?
Sorry. Last year you gave a $10,000 bonus to TSA workers who kept showing up to work during the shutdown. Will you do that again?
Well, it could happen. It's amazing. There are people that are really, really loyal and great, and it's not easy for them. And this is all caused by the Democrats. It's just so you know, all this money was approved. Everything was approved. This is done. The Democrats went in, and they want to have radical left lunatics come into our country. They want to have drug dealers. They want to have murderers come into our country. They want to have open borders, and we're not letting it happen. That's what this is all about. They don't want voter ID. They don't want proof of citizenship. They don't want mail-in ballots. They're so corrupt. What they want, the only thing they want is mail-in ballots. So we also added, as you know, into the Save America Act. And it's called Save America. It's not the Save Act. But we added no transgender mutilization of our children.
That's right.
No
That's
men
right.
In women's
None of that.
sports.
Elon Musk.
Lambert, how's it going, buddy?
Go well, and you reach.
I don't think he's going to be a Newsmax.
If these talks go well and you reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran, do you believe Israel would abide by that agreement?
I think
we just
Israel
heard from a
will
senior
be very
Port
happy
Authority
with
official
what
after the
we have. We
breaking news
just
overnight when a plane
spoke to
crashed
Israel a
into
little while
another
ago.
vehicle at LaGuardia
I think they'll be
Airport
very
with two
happy.
people
This will be
now
peace for
confirmed
Israel,
dead.
long-term peace, guaranteed peace.
On this Monday morning,
if this happens,
what?
then I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to.
Just moments ago,
my life is a deal. That's all I do is deals. My whole life. I think this is something
Hold
that's
on a
going to
minute,
happen.
guys.
And why wouldn't it happen?
But
So,
it does appear there
tomorrow
are 9 individuals
morning sometime,
with
their
serious
time,
injuries at
we
this
were
time.
expected
Still
to
in the
blow up
hospital.
their
2 pilots that you
largest
see on your
electric
screen right there
generating
confirmed
plants
dead.
that
LaGuardia
cost
will
over
be
$10
closed
billion
until
to
at
build.
least 2
It's a very
p.m.
good one. There was
Could
no
be
dearth of
longer,
money.
depending upon
And
how long the investigation takes.
one
With
shot,
that, let's
it's
go
gone.
live now to CB
It collapses.
live at LaGuardia with
Why
the
would they
very
want
latest.
that?
CB.
So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal.
Have they offered to reopen?
How are you going to, you said you want to get the enriched uranium. How are you going to get the enriched uranium? Are you going to
It's very easy.
I know, Sharon. I fixed
If
it.
we have a deal with them, we're going down
Sorry
and we'll
about
take it
that.
ourselves.
Can I ask you, the Treasury lifted sanctions on Iranian oil that was out to sea. You criticized President Obama for giving Iran $1.7 billion.
Well, I just want to have as much oil in the system as possible.
But Iran is
And we don't even know if Iran gets that money. Frankly, I think it's very hard for them to get it. But you have ships that are out there that are loaded up with oil. Rather than keep it there, I would rather see it go to the system. Any small amount of money that Iran gets is not going to have any difference in this war. But I want to have the system be lubricated.
Even $14 billion, you don't think helps them?
Where's the $14 billion?
Because the inflated price, they get $14 billion from the...
I don't think they're getting the money. I could tell you, when this is all over, I will tell you who's getting the money.
Mr. President, the Marines from California, given that it'll take them weeks to arrive, is the intention to police the strait or take cars?
What are you talking about?
Well, it's been reported that there are Marines that left California, left San Diego last week, at the end of the week. Why are they headed there now?
Well, let me ask you this. If
here
you
we
were
go.
in my position, and I asked you that question, do you really believe I'd give you an answer? It's a crazy question.
Mr. President,
We don't talk
Love
about
by illegal immigrants.
strategy. Yeah?
Another young woman was killed by an illegal immigrant that was let in under the Biden administration.
Let in by Biden.
Give a message for her family.
It's devastating. These people were let in by Biden. We're getting them out. We're getting them out fast. That's why ICE is so important. They're doing such a good job. This animal, I saw the whole thing last night. They gave me a briefing. Came in through Joe Biden with his open door policy and his border czar, Kamala, who never saw the border. Never made one phone call. All the ICE people, you see, they all know me. Everyone knows me. They like me. I speak to them all the time. Didn't make one phone call during 4 years. She was the border czar to anybody on the border. Never went there. This person came in through the open door policy of Joe Biden, and we have others. We're taking them out by the tens of thousands. We're doing a great job, but it's a shame. They've hurt our country. Just remember this. Joe Biden and that gang of radical left lunatics, some very smart, but radical left and bad ideology, sick people. These people have hurt our country very badly.
Are we
Yes, they have.
talking with Iran?
Those Iranian power plants. How is that different from what Russia has been doing in Ukraine by hitting Ukrainian power?
Well, I think it's a lot different. And if you look at the nuclear weapons
These
that
news
they wanted to
reporters
have,
are
that they wanted
so
to possess,
on the
a lot
left.
of things are different.
Lapdogs
I'm not
to the
a fan
left.
of what Russia's doing either, just so you understand. All right? But it's a lot different. You're talking about a country that has been evil for 47 years. They've been horrible. Death all over the world, not just us. Look at the way they attacked unexpectedly all of those countries surrounding them. It was not supposed to be. Nobody was even thinking about it. But they wanted to take over the Middle East, and they wanted to knock out Israel permanently. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have been able to do that.
Mr. President, talking to Iran?
Mr. President, do you know whether Joe Kent was leaking?
Look, I'm not a fan of the guy. If you look at, and you never cover this, if you look at his truths or whatever he went on, if it's X or truth, if you look at his truths or his statements, he was all for everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't. He was a man that I met at Dover. He came and his wife was killed. He remarried fairly quickly. His wife was killed, and I felt badly for him. He ran for Congress, he lost. He ran for Congress again and he lost. I said, you know, he's a guy, nice guy, seemed like a very nice guy. I met him, he was pretty heartbroken, but
anybody would be
I said, you know, it's a shame. He ran for Congress twice.
Unless you're a man that doesn't realize the beautiful thing
Smart.
that you have.
They gave him a job in the White House, and this is what he does to me.
Why would you hurt a woman?
Being a nice guy doesn't pay off too much.
Mr. President.
Think of it. He loses twice in Congress, ran not very good campaigns, should have won, but he loses twice. How do I get him? I have my people call him, because I didn't deal with him for the most part. I saw him a couple of times, but I never dealt with him at all. I had no idea his ideology was left or right, whatever it is. I can say this. He said very strongly that Iran is not a threat. Iran's been a threat for 47 years, and there's not a country in the world
Angela,
that doesn't
I got
agree
that
with
video
me on that.
playing next, actually.
So
I got
I
it up
take
in the
this
queue.
guy, Joe Kent, who lost twice for Congress, pretty badly and tough, and was devastated. And I know that he lost his wife. So instead of letting him live out his life, I brilliantly have my people call him and offer him a job in security, essentially, in the White House. And what does he do? He goes out and he says that Iran is not a threat to get publicity. Now, he probably signed up with CNN or maybe signed up with your division of Newsmax. I don't know.
President Trump taking many questions there outside of Air Force One on his way to Memphis in a moment, taking a lot of questions, especially about Iran. Just then he was talking about Joe Kent, who had resigned last week over the Iran war, and he was talking about why he was there in that job in the first place.
Be sure to like and subscribe. For
Here
all
we
the
go.
Fox News
Let's go
latest
to
on
the
YouTube
Laken
and catch
Riley
full shows streaming now
2.0 situation in Chicago. Laken Riley, this new woman that was killed. And does anybody recall in the chat and those listening abroad, do you guys recall the situation where that one family couldn't find their teenage daughter? She was brilliant. She was intelligent. She had a lot of friends. I think she was a cheerleader. She was assaulted by two illegal immigrants. They ginsued her and put her under her bed. Her parents didn't realize where she was. It took 3 days until the smell came from her bedroom. And guess what mommy and daddy found? And that would not have happened if the border would have stayed closed. And yet the left, even regular citizen leftists, and when I complain about Democrats, I'm complaining about the ones in the House and the Senate most of the time. But there are people out there, regular citizens just like me and you, that know these murders, these slaughterings happened. And yet, they're all for Democrats. That is some twisted thinking. I should run for office. All right, let's do this. I'm getting frustrated. Not frustrated, angry for a good reason.
So, a criminal illegal migrant from Venezuela is due in court today after being
Case in
charged
point.
with murder and other felonies in the death of an 18-year-old college student in Chicago.
Ridiculous.
Sheridan Gorman was shot and killed while walking with friends near campus. Her family saying, quote, Sheridan was
sad.
18. She had her entire life ahead of her education, her future, her family. The countless lives she would have touched, all of that was taken in a moment. And there is no
my
way
daughter
to repair the
just turned
loss.
18.
What Sheridan was doing that night, walking with friends near her campus, was normal. It was safe. It is what students do every day. We will
Welcome
not
back,
allow
Angela.
this to be dismissed as a wrong place, wrong time. This was not a random misfortune. This was a violent and preventable act. Veteran Chicago reporter William J. Kelly joins us now. William, thanks so much for joining the program. I just want to go through Medina's history. In May 9th, 2023, Medina was apprehended by the Border Patrol and released into the country under the Biden administration. And then in June 23, Medina was released again following an arrest.
Are these families able to file, at minimum, a civil suit against the government, against the Biden administration? I know he's out of office now, but it happened under their watch. Can they at least, at minimum, do a civil case and get, some kind of compensation. It's just ridiculous. You can never bring that child back. It's like having that family having both legs and arms chopped off for the rest of their life. When you lose one of your children, a part of you dies too. I watched it in my mother when my older brother died from drugs and alcohol.
That's for shoplifting in Chicago. What do you make of this?
God bless you, Lawrence. Thank you for bringing attention to this issue. No one else will talk about it, apparently. As a lifelong Chicagoan, it breaks my heart. As a Loyola University alum, it breaks my heart, but it also makes me angry because this was the single most avoidable loss of life, Sheridan Gorman, in the history of Chicago. The suspect was well known to police. God bless the Chicago Police Department. They've arrested this guy over and over and over again. Judge Gonzalez let him out so that he could kill, allegedly, so far we're, getting all the details. But, Judge Gonzalez let the suspect out, and now he's being charged.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but so we only have some of the facts in our newsroom, but you're telling me based on the information that you have, he was arrested multiple times in Chicago?
Multiple times. Deportable offenses.
Wow.
These were This is why it was so avoidable. This
suspect
never should have been in the country to begin with. Obviously, he wouldn't have been able to kill Sheridan.
Right, Angela, no doubt.
But multiple deportable offenses. And God bless the CPD, the Chicago Police, because they have been arresting this guy despite the fact that Mayor Johnson is endlessly telling them not to touch the illegals, not to detain them, not to turn them over to ICE. And I've asked Mayor Johnson about this over and over and over again. He just gives me the same dead-eyed, blank stare.
And he says nothing. He'll sit there and say not a word.
So people might say, well, at least this guy this suspect is behind bars now. Guess what? There are thousands of Jose Medinas that are in a revolving door that's going around so fast, Lawrence, that I'm surprised that they're not flying out of the jail because this is exactly the policies that got Sheridan Gorman killed.
So this is what the family are saying. We read a little bit of the statement earlier. Here's another portion of it. We are gravely disappointed about the policies and the failures that allow this individual to remain in a position to commit this crime. When systems fail, whether through release decisions, lack of coordination, or unwillingness to act, the consequences are not abstract. They are real. And in our case, they are permanent. This case must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of both state and federal law. There can be no gaps, no shortcuts, no second chances that put others at risk. Accountability must be complete. What's your reaction to that?
Mayor Johnson has put illegal aliens over American citizens, Chicago
citizens,
low
IQ
Chicagoans whose hearts are broken for the Gorman family today, by the way. Over again and again and again. Mayor Johnson has not even released a statement offering his condolences. His apology would be more appropriate. And maybe it's a good thing because knowing Mayor Johnson the way I know him, his statement would probably be accusing Sheridan of provoking this attack, this crime. There was another young lady, beautiful young lady, just like Sheridan, who was set on fire on the CTA, on public transportation.
Yeah, my God.
Mayor Johnson said it was an isolated incident. That is either the coldest or most hateful response I could ever imagine anyone giving, much less the mayor of the city of Chicago. Johnson and his policies have given these illegal aliens the idea that it's not the American dream that you and I were raised to believe, but it's a criminal dream of fraud and rape and robbery and murder. And this is Johnson's legacy.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And William, you've been reporting on this for a while. I just wish people would be listening there. Thanks so much for joining the program.
God bless you, Lawrence. Thank you.
You as well.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights.
Next
and click
video.
to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full.
Let's see here. Let's do. Yeah, this is only a. Oh wait, let's do this one. Might as well. All right, here we go.
We just heard from a senior Port Authority official after the breaking
Hearing
news
more on
overnight
this.
when a
I
plane
want
crashed
more
into another
information on
vehicle
this.
At LaGuardia Airport with 2 people now confirmed dead. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Monday morning. I'm Carly Shimkus.
And I am Todd Pyro. Here's what we know just moments ago from that press conference. 41 people on that plane were transported to the hospital. 32 were released, but it does appear there are 9 individuals with serious injuries at this time still in the hospital. 2 pilots, as you see on your screen right there, confirmed dead. LaGuardia will be closed until at least 2 p.m., could be longer depending upon how long the investigation takes. With that, let's go live now to CB Cotton live at LaGuardia with the very latest. CB.
Todd, Carly, good morning. An absolute tragedy here on the ground at LaGuardia Airport as we get that official confirmation that 2 pilots have been killed in this collision between a passenger plane and a fire truck.
What was that?
Let's take
weird.
a look at this crash site because this was a gut-wrenching scene. You can see here on the screen that Air Canada Express plane on the tarmac with its nose completely torn off, and nearby there appears to be the overturned, damaged Port Authority fire truck. To give some context, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey operates this airport. It just held a news conference and said the Air Canada flight was landing at around 11:40 p.m. Eastern last night, coming in from Montreal when it collided with a Port Authority fire truck that was responding to a United aircraft that had previously reported an issue with an odor. The Port Authority released an earlier statement saying, quote, at approximately 11:40 p.m. on Sunday, a Jazz Aviation flight operating on behalf of Air Canada was involved in an accident on runway 4 at LaGuardia Airport, in which the aircraft struck a Port Authority aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicle that was responding to a separate incident. And again, moments ago, we got more details about how this unfolded. So Air Canada again says that flight was traveling from Montreal to New York, operated by Jazz Aviation. We also learned the flight had 72 passengers and 4 crew members on board. Port Authority recapping moments ago that 41 passengers and crew members were taken to the hospital. 32 people have now been released, but we've been told there are serious injuries. There was light rain, fog, and mist when the collision occurred, but it's too soon to say how and if the
Look how
weather played a
nasty
role.
that plane
Here's
looks.
one injured
Fire
passenger
trucks are like steel, aren't they? Like built out of steel? And those airplanes are fiberglass, I think.
Like a regular flight, like always, but as we were arriving, we came down really hard.
Like always.
And then,
Like he flies all the time.
Like we stopped.
That's pretty
really
cool if he
quickly,
does.
And then
I've never flown.
2 seconds later, we just had an absolute like slam. Everybody was flying everywhere. I mean, like the plane started veering off left and right, and there was, I mean, just it was chaos. I mean, it didn't feel like there was anybody in control of anything.
Morning, none of you. How you doing today?
And our thoughts and prayers are with everyone who was involved in this collision this morning. Todd, as you mentioned, there will be no flights into or out of LaGuardia Airport until at least 2 p.m. local time. The NTSB will now lead the investigation. Back to you in the studio.
Remarkable to hear that first-hand account from that passenger, CB. CB Cotton live for us at LaGuardia Airport. CB, we thank you so much. Let's bring in former NTSB investigator Charlie Pereira. Charlie, we do know that the NTSB is launching a GO team to investigate this collision. So what are your thoughts on what led to this crash and what we know so far?
Well, we're going to need to get all of the data before we can make an evaluation. With the NTSB, of course, launching a GO team. The initial things that will determine exactly what happened are going to be the ADSB data, which is going to give you the position of the airplane once every couple seconds. And then we're going to have some ground radar possibly that might have the fire truck, might show the fire truck movement as well. And there might be airport video recording sources and possibly some private individual video recording sources that can give us the time history of the vehicle movements as well. So once the NTSB is able to collect and analyze those along with the air traffic control audio transcripts, then they'll be able to piece together what happened and why it happened and how to prevent it from happening again.
Charlie, there was a guest on with Ashley Strohmeyer during our breaking news overnight coverage who said the plane was possibly going at this point in the landing process between 20 and 30 miles an hour. But when you look at this footage, this does not look like an interaction between two vehicles going 20 to 30 miles an hour. We've all seen accidents on the side of a road where a car's gone 30 miles an hour. It doesn't look like this. How fast do you think these two vehicles, the plane and the fire vehicle from Port Authority, were possibly going at this point?
Well, I'm assuming that they've taken a look at preliminary ADS-B data to determine the aircraft speed. But keep in mind, the aircraft is mostly an aluminum fuselage, and that fire truck is more than likely mostly a steel structure. And their combined velocities together are going to result in significant damage to that aluminum airplane.
Aluminum,
I liken
not
them to
fiberglass. Okay.
flying beer cans, basically, compared to the structural integrity of a fire truck. So if they used initial preliminary ADS-B data to come up with that number, that might be true.
Doesn't that guy look like Lindsey Graham?
Were,
that could be Lindsey Graham's brother.
Coming at each other. If their velocity vectors were pointing at each other, then the combined velocity could have been significantly higher. So if the truck was going 50 miles an hour and the airplane was going 30 miles an hour, if they were going right at each other, that would be a combined impact of 80. Mm-hmm. So, we're just going to have to take a look at what the data show. But when I first saw the pictures last night, when you guys called me at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., whatever it was, to discuss my coming on the show, the only thing it showed was the initial pictures.
Goodness gracious.
My first thoughts
Look at that, man.
were, wow, the pilot compartment on that airplane, I'd be really surprised if the pilots didn't suffer at least significant injuries, and it sounds now like the pilots were killed.
They're dead.
That's a terrible thing to have happen. The cockpit voice recorder audio on this one is going to be important. That'll give us
hello, how have you been?
Of the audio leading, or all of the audio leading up to the crash, and it'll certainly help establish the timeline, but it'll be a tragic cockpit voice recorder recording.
And Charlie, speaking of audio, there are reports on the air traffic control recordings already, and they say that the vehicle had requested permission and had been cleared by the air traffic controllers to cross the runway 4. And then shortly after being cleared, the air traffic controller tells the vehicle to stop several times right before that collision. When you hear something like that, what do you think?
Well, we're going to basically, an animation will show everybody exactly what happened in real time and allow us to visualize and hear exactly what's going on in this tragedy. And it sounds to me from what you're saying like there may be some hearing issues on the part of the fire truck that will be examined later. It's required that the fire truck be authorized in its path along the airport surfaces there. So it sounds like the air traffic controller or possibly the ground controller, I'm not sure which one was speaking to him, whether it was tower or ground control that told him to stop, but they obviously realized that they had a conflict going on. And sounds from what you're saying that the driver of the fire truck was not able to hear that and take action in a timely basis to comply with the air traffic controller, ground controller instructions.
To follow up on Carly's question, if in fact the initial command was given to the fire truck to proceed down the runway, and I completely understand, Charlie, you work for the NTSB, everything is a process and you go through a very dutiful and detailed process to get the answers, but your initial gut instinct when you hear if the fire truck is saying what it's saying and it did receive clearance, does this appear to you like an air traffic control error at this point?
Someone's going to be held responsible. That's obvious.
It's way too early for me to be declaring probable cause in this case, but from the evidence that you've provided thus far, although it might be speculation at this point, if that is the case and the facts do lead us.
Well, they got till 7:44 p.m. tonight, and I have my reminder set to be live at 7:44 p.m. tonight to see if Trump doesn't start bombing their electrical plants. I know they said something about a 5-day delay on that for talks, but we'll just see how it goes because this is war. Anything could happen.
To that finding.
So interesting.
Then yes, there are going to be obviously.
I don't normally put this in my chat, but I don't know, I just did.
Issues, especially with respect to coordinating with the, as they call it, ARF, Airport Rescue and Firefighting vehicles. And it's not surprising.
Gosh, he looks like Lindsey Graham. I just can't get over it.
As we call them,
they could be twins.
Findings and issues and recommendations.
Let me see, I got an idea.
For example, on the San Francisco Asiana crash over a decade ago that I worked on, if you recall, we didn't have any fatalities caused by the initial crash, but some of the passengers that were on the runway surface were run over by ARF vehicles and killed in the process and injured. So this is going to be yet another tragic airplane accident that leads us to some improvements and safety recommendations in the Airport Rescue and Firefighting ARF category.
Yeah, listen, Charlie, LaGuardia is now closed until 2 p.m. at the earliest,
no
which
doubt.
means
Looks
there
just
are
like
going to be major impacts to flyers, considering there are already bottlenecks at the airport right now. But our thoughts and prayers certainly go out to those 2 pilots who have been confirmed dead. Charlie Pereira, we thank you so much for your time.
Charlie Pereira is his name.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest
here we go. We're going to do this.
And catch full
let's
shows
see here.
streaming
That one's
now
done.
on Fox 1.
Now, here's a little change up in things. Okay, this is 13 minutes long, but it's titled, "This is Not Jim Crow 2.0. Let's take a listen to this. This was 13 minutes, and at noon we have Larry with Larry O'Connor coming up. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Lindsey Graham, but that guy I think looks just like him. He's a warmonger. During wartime, when it's a good war like this one is, in our opinion, it's not so bad when you have war hawks. But when they want to go to war, when there is no legitimate reason to go to war, you're just killing young people. You're killing innocents for no reason.
Mr. President.
But I support the war, absolutely.
As Senator from Pennsylvania. I ask unanimous consent to end the quorum call. Without objection. Mr. President, a few weeks ago, I rose in this chamber in support of the Save America Act.
Excuse me.
I implored my colleagues to listen to the people who put us here, to restore their trust in our elections, to defend the integrity of what John Adams called, and I quote, the primary right by which all other rights are protected, end of quote. Mr. President, today the rubber meets the road. We must continue our debate in front of the American people, and we need to pass this bill.
Well, you don't have to debate
and that's
in front
why
of the
I rise
American
today to dispel the myths peddled by the bill's opponents and to remind us and to remind the American people what it is we're really debating here. Now, I understand the importance of election integrity more than most. In 2022, I lost my first statewide election by 950 votes. That's about 14 per count.
That's a hard loss.
And I won my second statewide election by 15,000 votes out of about 7 million votes cast. These incredibly narrow races show just how important it is that our elections run smoothly, fairly, and that only legitimate votes are counted. And right now, we cannot pretend that all elections in America meet this standard. In my home state of Pennsylvania, an illegal immigrant named Mahadi Sacco was recently indicted for having illegally voted in 7 different federal elections, including the 2024 election. And he was not the only one. We have seen similar cases of non-citizens voting across the country. Also in 2024, a Chinese national was caught and charged in Michigan after his ballot had already been processed. And just days ago, a British national was charged in Texas for illegally casting a ballot in the 2024 election.
Really?
Now, critics of the Save America Act, they say such cases are rare. But in 2024, two of the 5 swing state Senate races were decided by less than 0.3 of a percentage point. And the other 3 races were decided by 2 percentage points or less. The key point here is it doesn't take that many illegal votes to swing an election, and by doing so, to change the course of history. And this is a big and, because an additional 10 million illegal immigrants entered the country during the Biden administration, that's undisputed, that risk has risen dramatically. And therefore, it's no surprise at all, Mr. President, that more than half of Americans say they are deeply concerned about the integrity and the fairness of our elections. And it's also no surprise that the American people are demanding we do something about it. They're demanding a change. And so do my colleagues. As stewards of our constitutional order, we have a duty. We have a duty to root out the source of this distrust and restore the integrity and the confidence in our democratic process. And that, Mr. President, is why I support the Save America Act, and it's why I hope that we can gain support from across the aisle with our Democratic colleagues as well to support this incredibly important piece of legislation. This bill does one thing. It ensures that only American citizens cast ballots in American elections.
That's right. That makes sense.
And it does so
it goes without saying,
through a number of measures. First, it requires documentary proof of citizenship to register to vote.
Votes, they don't win.
It requires standardizing the list of acceptable documents that prove such citizenship. It creates an alternative process for applicants who lack such documentation. It requires photo ID when casting a ballot, and it mandates ongoing vote roll maintenance to remove non-citizens, allowing states to use federal databases for verification, and it strengthens enforcement and penalties against officials who knowingly register non-citizens. These are common sense measures, so basic, so reasonable, and most important, the American people support them. Voter ID is an 80-20 issue. Not that many 80-20 issues. This is an 80-20 issue. The Pew Research Center found that 95% of Republicans and 71% of Democrats support it. Meanwhile, only 22% of Americans oppose requiring proof of citizenship to register for federal elections. And that conclusion was from a recent Washington Post ABC News Ipsos poll just last month. The American people have spoken. Bottom line, the American people understand the problem, and they support the solution of the Save America Act. Now, since I last rose in support of the Save America Act, President Trump has proposed 3 additional measures. These include limiting of mail-in ballots to those who are sick, disabled, serving in the military, traveling, or otherwise experiencing hardship, keeping men out of women's sports, and protecting children from transgender mutilization surgeries.
Those things have to stay in.
I support each of these efforts, and I support Senator Schmitt's amendment incorporating them. Yesterday, I also voted for the Tuberville-Blackburn amendment, which would have further protected women's sports. But again, the Democrats blocked this common sense effort. These additions make a strong bill stronger. But the overall purpose, and the reason I first rose in support of this legislation is restoring the people's faith in our elections. That is what the Save America Act does. That's what it's all about. And that is why I support it. Now, Mr. President, I continue to hear a lot of misleading claims about this bill, and I'd like to address a few of them directly right here and right now. Myth 1, that the bill disenfranchises women who change their names at marriage. False. If you're already registered, this bill requires nothing of you.
desperate
For those registering for the first time or re-registering after a move, the bill explicitly directs states to accommodate name discrepancies. Applicants can sign a sworn statement, submit supporting evidence, and have an election official certify their citizenship. The bill anticipates the challenge and provides a solution. Myth 2, that voters must bring proof of citizenship like a birth certificate to the polls. False. Proof of citizenship is required only at registration. On Election Day, a standard photo ID suffices. This includes a driver's license, a state ID, a military ID, or a passport. We ask Americans, we ask all of us to show an ID to board a plane or to buy a beer. Asking the same to protect the ballot is not a burden. It's a basic, fundamental civic responsibility. Myth 3, voter ID suppresses turnout. The argument is that this bill, as some have called it, is a Jim Crow 2.0. This is false. There is no evidence that voter ID suppresses turnout. In fact, a 2021 National Bureau of Economic Research study analyzed a full decade, an entire decade of data, and found voter ID laws have no negative effect on registration or turnout. Let me repeat that. No negative effect on registration or turnout. A 2006 study by the Crime Prevention Research Center went further. Fraud prevention measures actually increase participation. And when my good friend Governor Kemp of Georgia enacted a voter ID law in 2021, the state turnout records in 2022 and again in 2024 were all-time highs. These facts are pesky things. But despite the facts, and despite the support of the American people, many Democrats have stood against this act from the very beginning. The reason? They fundamentally oppose requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote
yes, please
and
email
voter ID
Absolutely.
At the polls. It's just a fundamental disagreement. They fundamentally disagree with what 80% of the American people agree with. And because they know these principles are so simple, so intuitive, some have decided, sadly, they cannot defeat this measure with honest debate.
It's a good video, though. I love it.
And so instead, is so often the case in Washington, they try to bury this legislation, this very idea, in hysteria and misinformation.
Yeah, they have no problem lying.
Sadly, Mr. President, I've heard this bill smeared as, quote, one of the most despicable pieces of legislation, an attack on our sacred right to vote, a voter suppression bill, end of quote. And the Democratic leadership, before even seeing the specifics of the bill, declared it dead on arrival.
Go away.
I should be used to it. I'm new to Washington, but I should be used to this kind of performative language, this kind of escalation I see on the left. It's simply petty political theater. It's wrong. It's disgraceful. And it's unworthy. This kind of rhetoric is unworthy of the serious attention, the honest debate, and the thoughtful action that is required on such an important, such a fundamental issue. Mr. President, the facts around this issue are clear. Fact one, the American people are worried about the integrity of their elections, and rightly so. Fact two, the American people overwhelmingly support voter ID and citizenship requirements to ensure that only American citizens cast ballots in American elections. Fact three, these are the core features of the Save America Act. Fact four, there are abundant, readily available ways to get the proper documents or meet the requirements to ease access for all those who are qualified to vote. The bill expects that. It protects that. Fact five, this chamber can and must work together in a bipartisan manner to address this critical concern of the American people. It's possible. Don't believe this is not possible. We just did it. We just did it with the Road to Housing Act last week. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We have a problem with voter confidence. We have a problem with voter integrity. The American people want it fixed. And the Save America Act is a common sense and effective solution for addressing this problem. For all these many reasons, I implore my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to join me in supporting the Save America Act. I yield the floor. And I quote the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeah, Mike. Mike's mic wasn't on. Okay, now Mike's mic is on. It takes about, remember, there's about a 30-second to 60-second delay. Let me know when you can hear me again. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Those were good commercials back in the day. They cracked me up. So anyway, after this next video, we're going to take a break. And the next time you'll see me is between 1:30 and 2:30. So Larry with Larry O'Connor is up in 30 minutes. I'll be there watching that as I'm getting my message together. Yeah, Angela? Remember, guys, so like if I notice I'll hit my mic or something and I'll start talking, you won't know for about 60 seconds. So you'll be seeing me still muted for about 60 seconds, even though I've been talking okay. Unless you had a question, Angela. I see all the exclamation points. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Like I said, there's about a 60-second delay, so you got to be a little patient. Just wait for me about 60 seconds or so. If I hit my mic like that, or I do this, like if you're watching, you'll be able to see. Anyway, this video, Angela, then we're going to take a break. Guys, don't forget Larry with Larry O'Connor at noon. I will be there, and you should be too, because cool people hang out with Larry. If you want to be cool, go to Larry. Subscribe to this channel. Please become a subscriber. Smash that thumbs up button. And if you feel led, donate to the channel. Okay, so we have, oh, it's right here. Here, Minnesota fraud hearing. Angela turned me on to this morning. Here we go, guys. Punch it, Chewy.
$1,000 has left the state of Minnesota in suitcases and airplanes, heading to parts that we will learn more about around the globe. But first, I would like to welcome Representative Pam Altendorf, who has joined our committee.
Minnesota fraud is awful.
Of your service
awful.
And look forward to your contributions on the committee. Thank you.
I bet it's way over 20 billion in fraud just in Minnesota.
2026. Representative Schultz, have you reviewed the minutes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have reviewed the minutes and I move their adoption.
Excellent. Are there any questions or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Minutes are adopted. All right. Before we invite our witnesses to the testifying table, I just wanted to give the public a little bit of understanding of why we're having this hearing and why it's a little bit outside of our
WWZ in the house. Yeah, we're going to show this video, and then I'll be out of here until 1:30 to 2:30, sometime in that time frame.
I get the most questions about.
But I'll see you at 9 at Larry O'Connor at noon.
In my district and around the state. And people say, we hear all these reports of money leaving the airport. Why doesn't the state stop this? And I think it's really important for the public and us as members to understand the different roles and lanes at the airport, who has jurisdiction over what, and the role between the state Financial Crimes Task Force and the federal government, Department of Treasury. There's a lot of things that we can do together, but there's a lot of this that resides with our federal partners. And so I just wanted to make sure that we're having a clear conversation for our understanding as legislators and potential things we can do, but also for our federal partners and things that we will need their help on. And then just, again, for the general public who is incredibly frustrated about the stories they hear, the reports they hear, and that nothing seems to be getting done. So just as a level set, I want to remind everyone that the story of childcare fraud back from like the 2015, 2018, 2019 period is when we first learned about suitcases of cash leaving the airport. And that was presented by a whistleblower in testimony in the Minnesota Senate, as well as to the Office of Legislative Auditor. And I would say the report from the Legislative Auditor in March and April of 2019 said that it couldn't be substantiated. And so
there's the sound. I got the sound.
Thought at that time that it maybe had stopped. There had been some child care fraud prosecutions at that time. The estimate at that time publicly was
well, after this video, I'm done anyway, so that would be fine.
People thought, well,
I mean, if they want to go to your channel and listen to you, sure.
That was overblown.
I can't control that,
myself
but
as a legislator,
as a citizen, because I got to
at that time,
study, and Larry's
really
coming
thought
on, and
when the issue faded from the news that it probably hadn't stopped. And I was shocked in January of 2026, just 2 months ago, to see a TSA bulletin saying that no, in fact, it had tripled. So
oh wow, this was an hour and some minutes long. Let's watch this one later.
$3 million left.
It's an hour and a half. I didn't realize it was that long. Okay, so let's just do another quick one here. Okay, yeah, so if you guys want to go listen to Crazy Joe, that's up to you. I'm going to go and eat. I'm going to start studying, and probably at 1:30 or 2, I will go live, and we're going to bring a message today. I need to get back on a regular schedule. I used to be every day at 2:30, then the war happened. I need to get back to that 2:30 schedule, 1:30 to 2:30 schedule. So, okay, guys, I am out of here for now. I will see you guys around 1:30, but I am going to Larry with Larry O'Connor. Yeah, what's up, Crazy? Yeah, so if you guys want to go over to Crazy Old Soldier, that's cool. But I gotta finish cleaning that stupid stove of mine. I got one of those flat top stoves. I don't regret buying it, but they're a hassle to keep clean. And yeah, so anyway, okay, guys, I'll see you soon. And never forget that I love you and that Jesus Christ is indeed our great God and Savior. See you soon on Larry with Larry O'Connor.